All right, so travel is started again, especially for you. We made it back from this weekend. I had a trip to Virginia. You were in.
I was in Tampa.
Your old stomping grounds. How did it feel?
You know, it's always like kind of mixed emotions because I had good times there, bad times there, and you go back and you think, oh, like it makes you feel like you're just back when you used to live there.
Yeah.
But then you start looking around, and you're like, man, shit is completely different. Everything's
changed,
built
right?
up different. The places you used to go to are no longer there. But the certain large, you know, the hotels and Raymond James and all the other things you see from the airport to the hotel we stayed at for the Tampa Pro, all that stuff's pretty much the same.
Yes, I only had a couple. I'd had a couple trips. I actually did the bus tour there, and I trained at a super popular gym. It was the Powerhouse and was downtown.
It was on Channel Side.
Yeah, it's moved now.
Yeah.
And I remember going there, and what was cool about that gym is they had these stairs. They copied the Santa Monica stairs, and they had it in the middle of the gym. It was just like a makeshift. It would up and down with the stairs.
Yeah.
And the guys, I guess, that own that gym used to own a gym in California. So Sean Ray, and I think they own the gym in Fountain Valley or something out there. So it was like super popular. Ben Pekulski was training there at the time, and it was cool to actually visit it. And I visited a couple stores there. But I always liked Tampa. I mean, I know it's kind of like the place for like a lot of wrestlers seem to come out of Tampa.
Yeah, for years when I lived back there, I used to always see Macho Man before he passed.
Yeah.
You'd see Hulk Hogan still lives there. I think the McMahons lived there for some reason. I want to say they had like some type of corporate office there because you would go into any random gym and you would see guys in their train. You're like, I've seen him on TV before. You know, Tori Wilson lived there, Sean Stasiak, The Big Show. So you'd always run into wrestlers, or if you went out in the clubs, you'd see them out partying. Or
yeah, Hogan lives in Clearwater, so it's not too far from there. And I know that when we first, so this is episode 3, by the way. So we talked about a couple things, and we talked about, I think in episode 1, that your name on the boards used to be Tampa.
Yeah.
And that's how I used to know you as Tampa. That's how I first started calling you before I called you Matt. I know you were big with the music industry and you stayed down there. So it's pretty cool. I always wondered when you've been away from something for so long, and I kind of wanted to go, but I had my show in Virginia this weekend. Yeah. Cutler Classic. It was in Richmond, and it was canceled last year. Mm-hmm. And we had our record athlete showing this weekend. We had 120 or something that before crossovers, and I thought that was really successful. And we did have, a great attendance. The weather wasn't so great that day, but it's just really cool because this is our 6th year, minus, the year we lost last year. So it was great to see competitors back on stage, and, we're excited to do it again. We do it every August out there. So it was a success. But a lot of stuff happened at the Tampa show. I mean, you were there. You kind of filled me. I was texting you the whole time to find out, and couple surprises, man.
Yeah, I think going into the show, everyone assumed, Ian would be the front runner. Mm-hmm. He still was. And we didn't expect, I think, what was his name? Philip? The guy that got second? Hold on. I have his name right here.
His name's Phil. I don't know. They call him, I don't know if his real name is Philip.
Philip Plahar.
Yeah.
And I remembered seeing him different times throughout the years because he has a distinctive look. And I don't think anyone expected him to come in the condition that he was in. I mean, he was as conditioned as...
Yeah, you told me. You're text me. You said, man, this guy's in best shape.
His back double was Dexter / Phil-ish.
I think he's a bit older, to be honest.
He said he was 47.
I'm 48. It's crazy.
I mean, that's for him to be that. But he was, from behind, he was just perfect. But... Ian's still one of the,
He's 7th at the Olympia last year.
He's, overall, it doesn't take 100% Ian to beat him or some of the other guys in the lineup. And Ian was, he wasn't as good as he was at the Olympia, but I don't think he needed to be. I think he came in there, he had a job to do. He came in the shape that he needed to win. A 90-95% Ian beats the lineup. And he did that. And I heard him say he's going to tighten down next week, and he's going to go do the Texas Pro next week, him and Steve Kuklo.
Yeah, it's crazy because you got to see the California Pro. We went out there to watch that. So as we're seeing, the shows are getting more competitive because we're getting deeper into the season, and guys are looking for that qualification, and the ladies, all divisions, right? And it's obviously changed since my time, where you would do these shows and there were a lot less contests. So you would get that qualification based on top 3 or top 5, depending on the tier of the contest.
Yeah.
And now these guys have to win, or yes, they gather points. Yeah. And you're going to have these guys now that might not win, but there'll be some guys that fall into place just because of the point system.
Yeah.
Which, listen, I'm not a huge fan of, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think the Olympia should be the elite, meaning like it shouldn't be 20 guys.
Yeah.
You know, when I was doing it, it was 12 or 15 qualification guys. And I feel that, like, I know because of the shows and they have to do kind of the point system, and even like the Europe show, they're having top 2.
Next week in Spain.
Yeah, so top 2, and I think Nathan's doing that show,
Nathan
correct?
Diashie and Rolly are both doing it.
So they need to both qualify at this point. And I understand, like, they don't have as many shows over there, so I understand why they're doing that. But
last year it was the top 3.
Okay, they changed it
at the show. Yep, it was the top 3. That was the one that Rami was supposed to do, and he got COVID, and he had to pull out. And the top 3, top 3 got in.
And tell me, so you watched the show. Was there any surprises or anyone that you like? Wow, he got totally overlooked.
No, the Philip was impressive for someone that wasn't talked about going into it, and Charles Griffin was 3rd. Now that I was texting Jansen when Charles was out there, I think it was the best he's ever looked. He couldn't. I don't think he could look better. He was as conditioned as he could be from certain spots, like from behind. He's big. It seemed like just the same condition that Philip was in, but the structure for him compared to some of these other guys, it's going to hold him back.
Yeah, he was definitely had a lot of hype. So was 4th Max Charles, or
Max Charles got 4th,
and there was he's been knocking at the door and he's improved. The legs are better.
The legs are definitely
condition
better.
Is there. Did he place where he should have?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think he placed where he should have. And then 5th place was Shaban.
Yeah, I thought Shaban was going to do better than 5th, to be honest. What was he missing that he could have been bet sharp? Is it just detail, or
I think it's detail. His legs are crazy
legs.
If his upper body comes up a little bit and he gets in shape, he's a first call at the Olympia.
He's a points guy, though, don't you think?
He's leading in the points right now.
Okay, I would figure.
I heard him say that, and he got 5th, and then Sheng Chu Lee got 6th, and
very impressive.
And I texted you and I said, man, if I was a top coach, I would be recruiting him, because from the look, he doesn't have flaws. He's round. He's got symmetry. He's got legs where, there's a good amount of people that don't have legs anymore, or not legs, compared to you and some of the other top guys. He just isn't in shape.
He is in Las Vegas right now.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that.
He's preparing for the Arnold Classic here.
Okay.
So he's here. He's at Flex's gym.
Okay.
So we're going to get him on the channel, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Just doesn't speak English, so
yeah,
we have to find someone to translate in Korean, And
yeah, but he is, I was sitting next to another guy there, and he said the same thing. He said, man, if that guy gets in shape, he's going to be right at the top. So there's just watching the show, obviously Ian won, but there was 2 or 3 other guys in there that have if they do their homework, they are a legit threat in the future, legit threat. So overall, I think it was a good show, and Tim Gardner always puts on it's always a great show.
He keeps trying to get me out there, and it just always falls around my birthday, or, this year an event was on that. So it was just one of those things that kind of fell through the cracks. I couldn't make it out there. And, we've been really trying to be supportive of these shows this year.
Yeah.
And, and our travel schedule is obviously very limited, and, flying again, we kind of go back and forth about our flights too, right? We're always looking for the most comfortable seats, and we get spoiled because of being 1K members of United. And, it's kind of neat because I took advantage. I didn't tell you this when I went through Houston. I was able to use the lounge because, if you remember, I paid for the access to the lounge. last year, I think it was like after, like when we went to Sweden or whatever, I think I bought a membership. I remember I was at LAX and I'm like, I need to go in the lounge and just chill out because I had like 3 hours. And I bought like I think it was $600 and I paid for the membership because you only get lounge access if you're flying internationally, right? So I was able to chill out at the lounge, get some food, and it was pretty comfortable. And I still have a membership, I think, till October right now. But I was really disappointed because my TSA Global expired on my birthday.
Oh, that's right. You were messaging me like, what do I do?
So I was really disappointed because I was like, damn, I got to take my shoes off for the first time. And
I remember, I forgot where we were flying. I think we went to Virginia last time. Your TSA wasn't on this. You're like, man, fuck this. I'm going back. I'm going back to line. They're putting my stick.
I went back and now I know why. I mean, because it was coming up to the expiration. So I was calling Angie at 5 a.m. and I'm like, it was 5 o'clock and I was checking in because, we took the same flight to Denver. You took the day before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I can't get on this. And of course, she sent me a screenshot of my actual card, my global card. And she's like, oh, expired 2 days ago. So here I was like, it was early in the morning and the ladies were getting frustrated because they couldn't figure out because my number was in there.
Yeah.
And of course, it came to find out it was expired. And now I have to go through the whole process during a COVID
See,
time.
I did mine 6 months before it expired.
And she's smart. She's like, I have an alert set. See, I'm not as organized as you guys for the flying thing. I'm just like, go with it. It's just amazing how fast 5 years went by.
Yeah.
Because that was like 5 years I got my global thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we use that, in and out of the international
Especially
trips.
when you come from overseas and you go and there's like 5 planes letting off and you see this line and you look over and you're like, oh, that global line's only got 5 people in it. Good thing I got that. You just scan your hand and walk through.
Moral of this story is to our listeners and our viewers, if you travel often, get the TSA or global.
Get global because TSA is free with it.
Exactly.
And if you got a good enough credit card, they'll pay for it for you.
Okay, give the credit card a boost. Why not?
Yeah.
What do we use? American Express or
Amex
Chase?
or the Chase Sapphire. They both give you it. So whatever one you put it on there, as soon as it goes through, you're going to look back through there and you're going to see a credit. They're going to pay for it.
Yeah, it's funny. Every month you teach me new things about what we can do when we travel. Like you have the restaurant voucher with Priority Pass with Chase Reserve. And so if you're a frequent traveler, it's always good to look at the perks from certain credit cards because they are usable to be able to travel. And now we have Platinum Lounge, with American Express.
They got the Centurion here.
Yeah.
And same thing. So when I flew, my layover was in Denver. Yeah. And I was like, oh, they got a Centurion Lounge. And I look, I'm like, shit, man, it's in C and I'm in B. I'm like, and I don't know if Denver is a massive airport. I'm like, I'm not going down the escalator and taking a train to the next one just to get a free coffee or sandwich or whatever you get in there. And the same thing on the way back, I flew through Houston. They also have a Centurion Lounge and it was in a totally separate area. So I'm like in the international area. So I didn't get to use it these last 2.
Yeah, my question is, when you book a flight, do you try to go through certain airports because the amenities are better in certain ones?
I used to. Coming out of the West Coast, you're either going to go through, Houston or
you're
Denver.
A United flyer.
Yeah. And depending on the time of the year, if it's this time of year, I'll try to go through Denver more because there's a lot of storms that come through. And if it's winter, I'll try to go through Houston more. So it's more weather purposes.
But you were a Delta.
I'm a million miler on Delta.
You were a Delta. What is that considered?
Well, you have like silver status for life, but I quit flying on Delta like maybe 4 years ago.
Why did you make the change?
Their international upgrade program is better. Delta's was not good. So for example, for Delta, let's say you're flying to Australia and the ticket's $10,000 for first class and a coach ticket's $1,000 and you have 4 upgrade vouchers. You have to buy like a MY or B class ticket, which are like $4,000 or $5,000 in order to upgrade. To where United, the first class could be $10,000, the cheapest coach could be $1,000. But if you buy the one step up from that, so instead of a X class, you buy a U class, so say it's $1,300, you can use a voucher to upgrade that ticket to the $10,000 one.
And you get vouchers as you travel.
Yes, and now it's a point system for every, you get like, it's like 30 points for an international each way. So you get like 260 points.
And you can use mileage though.
You can use miles and points to upgrade.
I've done that before.
So when you go to book the flight, you go into the advanced settings and it'll go to the bottom. You say, I want to use miles to upgrade. And you can say, do I want to use points or do I want to use miles? So then when you click points and you click search, it'll pull a screen up and it'll show you on the right-hand side, it'll say waitlisted or automatic. If it says automatic and you book that flight with your points, you immediately get put into first class right away. So that's why I did the switch. And I was just looking at it, and I started like a little over 4 years ago, and I'm approaching 500,000 miles already on United. And
yeah, I mean, I was $1 million on American. I was $1 million with United.
Yep.
Delta, I think I reached 500,000. I mean, if I try to calculate air miles over the years,
think of all the JetBlue and Southwest and
which we try to evaluate which airline has the best amenities. And I have to say JetBlue Mint is probably the best.
I've still never flown that. That's like almost like an international seat kind of trip, but domestic. It's
amazing. I mean, and the service and the seats are different because it goes like two and then a single and then two. So that single seat, you're almost like your own. You have all this space.
And what is the price compared to other?
Well, we just looked like to go to Boston. We're not talking international because I don't know how much international trips JetBlue does, but if they do it all. But I know Boston, we just looked at tickets today, and I found United business class was around $1,100 round trip. It would be about $2,000 on JetBlue
for each one. So
yes.
$4,000 for two.
Yeah, $4,000 for 2 tickets.
That's a lot.
So I paid $2,200 versus $4,000.
And you have a layover.
And I have a layover. I go through Denver, but what I looked at in Denver, that's why I asked about the amenities. They have a great dog area.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's like outdoors and everything. So if we do the transfer there and we do the transfer there and the transfer on the way back with the dogs, it's only an hour layover anyway. And they're usually pretty good for that amount of time. I think the whole trip is like 7 hours with the layover.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. But, we do travel with the dogs when we plan to go back for my contest in October 30th.
Yeah.
And, we'll have that access.
They have really good in certain airports. I always look at the restaurants too. That's why I used to always fly. When I flew on Delta, I'd always go through Atlanta because they had this really good soul food restaurant. That was so amazing. And I would always go through Terminal B and I would load up on it and I'd be running to the plane with my bag of food because it was just it was like a local restaurant inside a mainstream airport. And you just don't get that very often.
Yeah, when I came through a lot of my international trips, I went through actually Atlanta. It was one of the main places I went to. But listen, listen. I'll admit it. I hate flying. I mean, today, I look at a lot of these appearances, and we calculate the distance and the time, and what people don't realize is when people book you for an international trip.
Yeah.
It might be a 2-day appearance, like an expo, but it's a week time, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to get there early enough, get settled, get acclimated as much as you can, at least get some rest because you're not going to rest while you fly necessarily. And then when you come home, you're just wiped, right?
Yeah.
Usually it's a 6 or 9 hour time change.
Yeah.
Most of the times we fly sometimes 24 hours difference or 12 hours. So it's pretty taxing on the body.
I never, up until that Dubai trip we did 2 years ago, I'd never experienced jet lag in my life. I was just a machine. I could just land, go. So we fly to Dubai. It was right before the Olympia. It was in October or whatever, or September. So we fly to Dubai, and the whole time we were there, I couldn't sleep. I was just trashed. And when we flew back, we flew right into Olympia week, and we got home on Monday. And Olympia stuff starts Wednesday. That's when you were the official ambassador of the Olympia. And I remember for that week, I could not sleep. I was just a total mess. And ever since then, even if I go to the other coast, I get jet lag now. And I never experienced it in like 15 years. So I blame you for that.
Yeah, remember when the lady was giving you a hard time about your sleep apnea on the plane?
Oh, my God, yeah. What flight? That was
it was a United flight, and you were mad, man.
Oh, of course. I tried to. So we were flying wherever we were
going
flying.
overseas.
We were going to FIBO or something like that. And I took my sleep apnea machine out, and she's like, "What are you doing? That's not approved." I said, "What do you mean it's not approved? I can plug it in." And she's like, no, it's not approved. It has to have this and that's certifications on it. And she was like talking to the pilot and like everything. And finally I was like, look, man, if I don't sleep with this, I might not wake up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I think I started being kind of a dick to her. I said, are you trying to kill me? Like I said something like that.
They end up letting it pass though.
They end up letting it pass. And she's like, well, from here forward, whenever you get on this plane, you need to call ahead of time and let us know you have a sleep apnea
So
machine.
have you?
No, absolutely not.
Very rare case, huh?
I've never had that happen. You know, normally you can't even tell I have it because I just plug it in and I sit it on the side of me and I put the mask on. I just put a blanket over me and I just go to sleep. But I didn't even think about that now.
What about this airline? They just tied up the guy in the seat. You sent it to me.
Yeah. The guy was being a dick to everybody. So they duct taped him or something like that to the seat.
I think more videos came out of him being belligerent on the plane.
Yeah, no, he was like,
he grabbed the women's breasts or something.
Oh, he did.
That's what he did.
I just saw one of the videos. He's like, my mom and dad have $2 million.
I would have beat that kid silly.
Yeah. Like, how do you just?
If I was on that flight, I would have bitch slapped him for sure. Can you imagine? I mean, like someone getting out of hand like that, and I mean, I know they were saying, oh, they're going to have a lawsuit but man, like. They're allowed to do whatever they want.
You have to do what you have to do. If someone's being out of control and he assaulted somebody, put his hands on somebody.
It's a federal offense.
Yeah, you can't do that. But no, I'm just glad that I get.
I think it was a Spirit flight.
Of course, it was a Spirit flight. I don't know. That's what we need to start putting you on Spirit.
I flew Spirit once.
That's one more time than I have.
One and done, and that was going to Florida. Because it was like the one-way trip, you know.
What about last year at the Olympia when we put you on Frontier?
Yeah.
That's your fault. We were looking up the flights, and you're like, I just want to get there. Just get me on a nonstop. And I was like, the only one is a red eye and Frontier. And I remember you landed, you're like, you did this to me.
Nah, it's just, they just charge you for everything. That's the problem with a lot of these airlines.
Their seats don't recline.
Yeah, that's why we stick to the same thing. You know?
I flew Frontier for the first time to Phoenix 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And just a little backstory. 3 girls that are on Cutler Nutrition were competing at the USAs. They were all going to get their pro card. And I saw the first girl, dead center or split center, first call out. Second girl, same position. Third girl, same position. I remember messaging you. I was like, dude, I think so one of us has to go there just to be supportive. So that was the first time I ever flew Frontier. But all I had was a backpack. I had my sleep apnea machine in it, like another.
Yeah, that's 45 minutes though, bro.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
I know you're debating whether driving or.
Yeah, it was worth it though.
When I did my bus tour in 2013, I had a big tour bus and I traveled all the country visiting military bases and I visited GNCs and certain gyms. I felt like when I was starting the tour, I felt like kind of like a rock star, because I had a bus and I had a driver and the bus, we would park at night and open that thing up and we'd be parked outside the gym. And I had these pictures all over the bus. A lot of people probably remember watching this. And, I'd be sometimes training at midnight. And what I realized by the end of that tour is like life on the road is difficult.
Yes.
Because you never sleep the same. And I remember like we would be in transit a lot through the night. So we would do like 2 appearances through the day and they were sometimes 3 hours apart. So we would do the morning appearance, then drive 3 hours, do the other appearance. And these appearances run through, right? Yeah. They just never stop because you set a time and the lines don't stop. And then I would be at the gym at like 10 or 11 at night. Then I'd cook my food and, find a place to open the bus up or whatever. And then the driver would sleep in a hotel. And we did that. And then we drive through the night to like 6 or 8 hours to the next location. And by the time we got parked and we got started for the next day, I only had a few hours of sleep because I couldn't sleep when that thing was driving all over the place. Yeah. But it sounded like such a great idea. And it's one thing, like I always had a dream to drive across the country in an RV. Mm-hmm. But what I realized after doing that and having an RV, I would definitely hire a driver to do that.
Yeah.
But that's one bucket list I probably have is being able to tour, like go to Yellowstone and see the countryside, because one of the best experience I ever had, and this wasn't in a bus, it was in in like a van. I got to drive from Germany through Germany to Austria, and it was some of the most beautiful scenery.
Yeah.
And still to this day, being able to look out and watch that as someone else drove and be able to enjoy that where, you don't experience that when you're driving, especially, worrying about, either towing a car or whatever in the RV.
Yeah.
Because it seems like most people, like, they want to break off, park the RV in certain locations and go and do their thing. So be really kind of cool. I mean, that's something I would like to do. And I know you and I talk about it a lot, that I would enjoy, like that, Midwest. And
you definitely would. I mean, I do it often. And
you rented a trailer like last year or something.
Yeah, I went earlier this year. I went on that website where you can just rent a trailer, and I drove my truck up to St. George, and the person, you just rent trailers from people.
And you hooked it up.
I hooked up to my truck,
and all that.
It had a generator, it had running water, it had everything I needed, and I just drove that up through the mountains, and I spent.
I want a motorhome though, a big motorhome.
You can rent those too.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drive it though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well.
Because I knew with us, like when we mapped our routes, Jess, who was driving the bus, he would have to be careful because
Jess
a lot.
Will come drive it.
Yeah, I know. Really, he's just got married actually, so I don't think he'll be doing as much hanging out with me on the road. He would have to be careful of the bridges, the heights.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that you have to pay attention to, right?
Yeah.
Which driving across the country, I wouldn't want to worry about that as much. And like I said, I would like to enjoy the scenery and jump on and off and take my time to do that. So maybe that's, eventually a bucket
I'll
list
eventually buy we would discuss this. I'll buy a fifth wheel, like a really nice one. And then you just, if you want to go to Yellowstone or you want to go to Montana or wherever, and you just find a place you want to put it, you unhook it, you push the button, it levels itself off, and then you have your vehicle. And then you can go drive 2-3 hours, go do whatever, and just come back and forth.
Yeah, I thought about this. Like Sturgis was always, when I was riding motorcycles, was something I really wanted to experience. And I don't know how that was 10, 15 years ago. I really thought about it. And I always wanted to see Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
You ever been there?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it's always one of those places.
I went to Mount Rushmore in 2016. I drove across the country, and
I take pictures of it. You need to send me.
I have them on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I purposely, instead of coming back from the Midwest through going down south through like Iowa, Nebraska, through Denver, I went a little bit north, and I went straight across South Dakota because I've never been there.
Yeah.
The reason for that was I specifically wanted to see Mount Rushmore, and I didn't know if I'd ever get a chance to, so go a couple hours out of the way. And then we saw Devil's Tower on the other side of that in Wyoming. But it was, my last trip across the country, I purposely went north and went across North Dakota because I had never been.
Did you go to Denver? Was that when you lived in Denver? Or?
No, that was when I was moving back out here.
Okay.
I left and drove straight north and went all the way to North Dakota and then went across.
Yeah, because I used to have the show in Cheyenne, so I was, I used to see all the Sturgis bikes during August would ride through there.
Yeah.
Either going to or coming from. That was around the time I had the show. It was around my birthday every year. So, and I was always training for Olympias when I wanted to go, and I'm like, I can't go to a motorcycle rally during that time. And I heard all these crazy stories, and you see all these videos and stuff like that. So hopefully I get to experience it at some point.
No, it's at some point. It's worth it. It's worth it just to just go see the world. One of my uncles, just out of the blue, I saw him post on his Facebook. He just had a motorcycle with a helmet and a backpack, and he was in South Florida. And he said, in the next 6 weeks, I'm going to drive across the country. I'm going to end up at my house in Whitefish, Montana. And every once in a while, I'd look on Facebook, and then he was in North Florida, and then Georgia, and Tennessee, and Kentucky. Like, he legit drove all the way around, just him in a motorcycle and a backpack. And
I don't know if I could do that. I couldn't.
That's
always,
too much for me.
I mean, driving even from California to Vegas on that 15 freeway, it's like not something I always dreamt of doing,
No. But yeah, so I ended up going and seeing, and fortunately for Cutler Nutrition, all 3 girls turned pro.
Yeah.
And I don't think they realized like how big of a deal that was. How many people go to the USAs and they never even get first call out, or they never come close to turning pro. And how many people will say, hey, I got 3 friends in the show, and none of them turn pro, but we have 3 girls here that are local.
Yeah, 2 in the same gym.
2 in the same gym, and all 3 of them, boom, 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 turn pro in the same show. So, and I saw Dave just put a video up on the
yeah, we did
JTV
for JTV, so you can check that out and see
congratulations,
highlighted.
all 3 of them. That was another
a couple. One girl was her first attempt. Actually, was it Bryn's first attempt, or
it was her second? She did nationals. She said she did nationals 2 years ago.
Okay,
and she got top 10.
She was a teenager then, right?
She was a teenager, and then she just took time off, and then this is her first time coming as as an adult, so to speak. and she turned pro in her first shot as a beyond a teenager.
All right. So what questions you have for me? I know we got some fan questions. So we are doing this kind of Q&A through a format. So if you guys want to comment on this video, if you guys have questions that might be of topic, we would love to shout you out, and you have those questions you've been dying to ask. This is a time. So
the first question is, what movie comes on that you always watch to the end, no matter how many times you've watched it? Like you can watch it 100 times.
So many. I watch. I love the movie Miami Vice. I mean, I love Bad Boys 2. I love Die Hard. Die Hard's probably my favorite film. Terminator.
So say this. What's your favorite like comedy? Your favorite like drama and like?
I don't know if I break it down like that because like Die Hard's my favorite film ever.
So you can just watch it.
I love Gladiator. My feel good movies like would be like Home Alone during Christmas time, and I think all our viewers can relate to that. And then the Christmas Story, is that what the other one with the
you'll shoot your eye out with the BB gun?
Yeah, with BB gun.
They have on Home Alone. They have this documentary on I think how they were made on Netflix. You guys should go watch it. And they show the story of Home Alone, how it wasn't supposed to happen. Like they had a budget and they started filming it, and then Warner Brothers like cut the money off and they fired everybody. And meanwhile, the producer of it was like working with Fox on the back door. So as soon as they fired everybody, the guy walked back through behind and rehired everybody. And it turned into, I think they wanted like an extra $1 or $2 million. So they spent like $13 million on this, and it's legitimately grossed over $1 billion in all this.
I mean,
time.
it's on every Christmas. I watch it every single Christmas holiday.
You have to.
And Macaulay Culkin, I mean, he obviously was like one of those famous childhood actors. And, I saw a meme over the last few years since social media came out and saying, what is this? What did the guy that, I don't know what the guy's name was, his dad's name. What did he do for a living? Because he had this crazy house. He was flying everyone to France.
First class.
Yeah. And what did this guy do?
I think I saw, what's funny? I think I saw like LeBron James or someone tweeted that and say, what did he do for a living? All the lights were always on.
And I really like, even being my age, like I would love to see the Home Alone house because it exists.
It's in Illinois.
It's house, yeah.
It's Chicago.
And I always kind of like, and Joe Pesci was in there. So he's like one of my favorites from like the Casino movies. And, there's so many films. I mean, that I loved. Gone in 60 Seconds, I loved. I like the original Fast and Furious. I even like the horror movie, like Halloween are my favorite, Friday the 13th. Those were like the original. So you talk about horror versus, comedy. I don't know, like, I really just liked Robin Williams. Like Mrs. Doubtfire was a really good film.
My favorite comedy, and it's funny because probably no one's ever really seen it, is Odd Couple 2. It's got Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, and they're just two. They fly to go see their kids get married, and they hadn't spoke from the first Odd Couple in like 30 years, and they fly and land, and they have to take a road trip, and everything goes wrong. I don't know why it's so funny to me. I think I have the whole movie memorized. I watched it over and over.
Well, we all memorize our movies, but I'll tell you the two movies that got me into bodybuilding.
Okay.
Rocky IV and Bloodsport. So Van Damme and Stallone were like my lead into physiques. Mm-hmm. And then, we got into, obviously I watched Arnold and I watched Terminator, but I never seen Conan the Barbarian.
You said that to me earlier, and I don't know if I know an adult who hasn't seen Conan the Destroyer or Conan the Barbarian.
And I saw most of Arnold's films. I mean, I didn't watch Pumping Iron until after I turned pro. And, I liked Twins. I liked Kindergarten Cop. I liked True Lies.
I just,
Commando was one of my favorites.
In the next week, I think you have to watch at least either The Destroyer or The Barbarian, and we need to report on it the next week.
Yeah, it's probably pretty crazy that I never seen these.
Yeah, that's like, that was like the first movie that I can remember where somebody, because he had a crazy physique then, because he wasn't far from.
Sorry, Arnold. Sorry, I didn't.
He had Wilt Chamberlain in it.
And I see that. I have to see it now.
Yeah, you have to. That's an absolute must.
Classic, right?
So if you had to pick one movie, if they said watch this one movie, you have to watch it every day till the end of time.
I mean, I think Home Alone, because I feel just good when I watch that movie. Like it brings me into that holiday spirit, and I'm kind of like I'm a little negative towards the holidays a little bit. Like I think every day is the same pretty much. So I think Home Alone would be the feel good movie that I enjoy the most.
They have like really good feel good like theatrics with it as well.
I think so.
Like the music, like the
But I just love New York City in the winter time, and it brings a good aura.
Is that Home Alone 2, New York City, the winter time?
Well, yeah, I know, but it's like so it's like that city feeling, right?
Yeah. So all right, so we're gonna have to get you a Home Alone shirt, and then you have to watch Conan, one of the Conans. Okay, another question is, you have been all over the world. Why do you choose to live in Las Vegas?
It's a good question. It's a great question because we always talk about this.
Yeah.
Every day I think about going somewhere else, to be honest, because when you're somewhere and you establish, I've been here, it'll be 20 years next year. I came here for investments. I came here for bodybuilding. I came here for the climate, no natural disasters. Housing was inexpensive at the time. And the thought of Las Vegas, when I came here for the first time in 98 and saw the city and realized like the opportunity, and it's in every film and it's been on documentaries and, even going back to the gangster times, I don't know. It just had this aura, and it's just 24 hours. Sometimes I just don't sleep, and I like to do things. I like to eat sushi in the middle of the night. And, I was able to do that in Vegas, but it's worked so far, and I've developed a relationship. I mean, I'm respected in the city, and it's just accessible for the travel. I think we talked this on another episode, just why Vegas is kind of the hub. But I mean, I grew up in Massachusetts. I lived in California, and being close to me, California would be my ideal, although times have changed there. Yeah. But climate-wise, I really enjoy the climate of California, San Diego or Orange County.
What about Northern California?
I never really looked at that.
Like up north of
Lake Tahoe or
that's what about like north of San Francisco? Kind of like where some of those appearances where we went,
or maybe Placerville,
or maybe south of like San Jose near the water there, where maybe it's not as busy.
I never spent much time there, so for me to have that experience to say yes or no, I really enjoy the weather of Southern California. I mean, it rarely rains, and it's like the same every day. And I mean, anywhere where there's no snow, I still have this bucket list to go start skiing again, which I used to do often, but I just haven't since I got the size that I just like the golf stuff. Yeah. Which Angie got me golf lessons for my birthday, so I'd love to do that. But man, I like Arizona. I mean, I kind of like the desert. To be honest, that's what I like.
It's funny. I'll get random messages from you at 2 a.m. Hey, look at this house. I'm like, where is it? It's in some random spot. Or look at this place. Or look at this place.
I mean, we looked at Utah. I mean, Puerto Rico. We talked about going to.
You still need to go down there just to go check it out.
Yeah, and I mean, I never really had the Miami, Florida type thing. I never really looked at that. I mean, we talked about Montana. I think I'd just get bored pretty easy, not having the accessibility, even though sometimes I don't leave my house. I mean, we talk about that. But I think, with having the option and all through my career be able to be in one place, I just think it fit well for my bodybuilding, and I'm still transitioning somewhat away from that. And not to say that this is where I'll end up till the very end, but I still think I'll hold residency here.
Yeah. What job would you have if you were not a professional bodybuilder?
I wanted to be an ATV rider. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to work corrections. I mean, every kid wants to be a professional ball player, right? But I just only had certain genetics for that.
Think of not now as a kid, as an adult.
My family business would be, they still do concrete. My Cutler Brothers Concrete in Sterling, Massachusetts, and that's probably where I would have ended up. If I never found bodybuilding, I never would have left Massachusetts. My whole family's still there. They live on the same street pretty much. And my brothers, they started the business when I was 11. So around like 84, I think, 84, 85. And they're very, very successful at it. But it's very, very rigorous work. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
And that's how I kind of developed my work ethic. And I think my family really wanted me to move into and kind of be involved in that business. But for some reason, I saw a vision of going to college, and, you know, I somehow like thought, okay, I'll be a police officer of corrections. And as I was doing that, I got turned off a little bit, and I focused on the bodybuilding thing. And I was kind of working, I worked on a golf course at the time, and I was cooking also. I was a line cook in a restaurant. So I had those ideas in my head, like maybe I'll head that direction. And, you know, the story is I started competing and did so great at it that bodybuilding became my life.
So now knowing what you know now, if you weren't going to be a bodybuilder and you could speak to your 21-year-old self, what would you say do? So I'll like, for me, for example, I would have been a DJ, because I see how much money they've made, and I worked with them for years, and I could look back and go, I know how much money you can make.
I know, but that's the top, right? And that's,
I mean, I think I could have found a way to get to the top makes millions, but there's still a lot of other ones that make $300,000, $400,000.
But I'll be honest, like the money didn't drive me to become a bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. It was the feeling I got in the gym and the transformation and watching my body shift that kept me like motivated. And I thought the guys did make money, but I never thought once, even when I was winning Olympias, I'll be honest, I never thought about the money. Mm-hmm. I was paid, obviously, so I think maybe I was a little comfortable in the endorsement deals, but I never thought about, I'm going to win X amount of prize money. And, you know, as the amateurs, you get nothing. It's a loss of money,
it's
right?
A loss, yeah.
But the recognition and the notoriety is what excites you. And then eventually it becomes like you're a role model for people or whatever else. So it's really hard for me to look back and say I would have or could have or should have done anything other than bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe I would have been a personal trainer. Maybe I would have built that business, or, you know, became a magazine, like a writer or something. You know, I just loved bodybuilding. It was my passion, and it made it that much easier. When something's your passion, it makes it very, very simple to do.
Yeah. And
I don't know, if you ask me what I was great at, you know, anything I really did, I was decent at. You know, whether I did concrete, or, you know, I worked a security job, or I did cooking, or, you know, I was, you know, in the golf course maintenance, and I got hired and moved position up to be head of irrigation. And I was only 19. And I thought I was really great at everything. I could run heavy equipment.
So you were kind of like Bill Murray in Caddyshack.
Yeah, I love
groundskeeper.
Listen, going out on a golf course, and I'm not a golfer, but I would be out there and I would be sitting waiting for the sun to come up every day to mow the greens and whatever fairways. I would sit out there, and it was so peaceful.
Yeah.
And to this day, you know, I enjoy my peace. Like the gym is like my sanctuary, and I've been training lately at a very quiet gym. And I don't wear a headset, and so many people come up to me and they're like, how do you train? And there's not a lot of music. There's very soft music. They're like, how do you train? Because it's like meditation for me.
Yeah. And
that time is enjoyable. So anything that I'm at peace with, I think would have been my career. Mm-hmm. And whether it was the concrete, or, you know, the police officer, or ended up being bodybuilding, I love what I do. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
And the next one would be, you're known for having a large shoe collection. How do you decide what shoes to wear?
I knew the shoes would come up.
So, like, for example, like you went to Virginia this weekend.
I wore my Air Maxes.
You know, you go look in your closet, and you got an endless supply of shoes. So how do you pick what shoes to wear at what?
I got to plug the Atomics, right? I did travel with my Atomics this weekend, so my workout shoes I started wearing at the age of, I bought my first used pair from someone in the gym, and my pair of Atomics, because I thought you had to wear that shoe to be classified as a bodybuilder. So I bought that shoe at 18, you know, used from someone, and to this day I still wear the same exact shoe that I bought at 18. It's the karate shoe, and I packed that. You love this shoe also.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge Jordan guy. Anything that looks great, but the Jordan ones are my favorite. So I did bring a pair of Jordan ones, but I brought my Air Maxes. And today, which is different from 4 or 5 years ago, I don't wear what looks the coolest anymore. I wear what's the most comfortable, as I'm going to be on my feet all day. Because I learned through the expos and, you know, not having carpet sometimes when you're on concrete, Just like the basketball shoes have advanced, right? You know, they went from a very flat, they used to wear Chuck Taylors, right? To now you have all these different shoes that are classified under all these amazing players.
Yeah.
You know, I like the look, but at the same time, I like comfortable feet.
Yeah.
And I choose by colorways. Like I try to think, okay, what did I wear last time? Or, you know, I got some shoes today I just put on my Instagram. You know, I got some new Jordans today. I have a shoe guy that basically hits me up and leverages me to purchase more shoes. So I have, I'd hate to count how many I have, but it's a whole closet, and I'll feature that sometime on YouTube and show, hey, these are the shoes that I have. But I'd imagine I have a very, very powerful.
Do you ever look in your suitcase and you have shoes in there? Because I've done this and go, maybe I shouldn't take those. You take them out and go put a different pair in.
Yeah, the question is, how many pairs of shoes do you really need to pack for a trip?
Well, it depends how long. What if you're going for like a week?
I mean, but dude, how many pairs of shoes do you need? I mean, you need
Well,
one dressier shoe and one. Like I have a pair of running shoes. I have a workout shoe, which is Atomics. I have the running shoes to do like cardio, and then I have like a shoe that I'll wear at an expo. So it's a little more fashionable shoe. So it's more like a lifestyle shoe. And that's how I pack. So I usually have 3 pairs of shoes in a suitcase. And that's, no, 3. Well, I have 3. I have 2 packed and 1 on my foot. So that's exactly how I packed this weekend, because I just took a carry-on. Now, if we're going to overseas, I might think about a couple outfits where hey, we need to have more options. Or I'll just get over there. I'll just buy more shoes. We've done that before.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I usually lately I just bring 2 pairs of Chucks. I'm just tired.
I know you're a Chucks guy with no shoelaces.
Yep. I'm just tired of just lugging stuff around. So the lighter I can travel with stuff, the better. And it, you know, a pair of Chucks, you can wear them to the gym. You can wear them with a pair of jeans and a dress shirt. They're just kind of universal. So I'll have a white pair and a black pair.
See, I only spend a certain amount on a pair of shoes. So I used to buy a lot of designer dress shoes like Louis Vuitton or whatever, and I just don't do that anymore. I just buy Jordans, like the ones, like I said, if I'm going to dress up, I usually wear Jordan 1s. But, you know, most Jordan 1s are like around $100 to get, you know, the Jordan 1s. So I'm not one to buy like the Travis Scotts and spend thousands of dollars, or, you know, the Dior ones that were $10,000 or $11,000. I just think that's crazy unless you're going to turn around and sell them, because, you know, a lot of these kids make money with selling sneakers. Yeah. So I have a lot of the sneakerheads that follow me exclusively just for that. So shout out to you guys. But at the same time, like, I wear my shoes.
Yeah. And
I believe in wearing them, and they don't just sit in boxes. So yes, I do tend to wear repetitive shoes, but at the same time, I'm kind of aware of, hey, I have these, but sometimes I have like double of a certain shoe. So, you know, something has to be worn out before I pick it up.
So again, when you build a big house next, you need to just have a shoe closet.
I'm just trying to keep up to, you know, DJ Khaled, who has like crazy pairs.
Yeah.
I wonder how many pairs of shoes.
I've watched some of the videos on YouTube. He's got an obscene amount of shoes. I thought I have a lot because I have like 100, 150, but you guys are on a totally different
You have
level.
that many pairs of shoes?
Yeah, I have a lot.
Damn, where do you keep all that?
My closet.
Some people guys keep it in boxes, like in.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Closets
Nothing I have is really like super expensive. Some Air Maxes and stuff, but I'm not buying them for an investment, and I'm not a collector. Yeah. I wear them. Every pair of shoe I have, I wear. So
I'm gonna get a feature on that. But you know, that's all the questions we have, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for this week. Hopefully next week we'll have a bunch more.
Episode 3 in the books, and like I said, you guys, we appreciate all the comments. We did, like I mentioned, we did have a little sound issue because of a slow processor.
Yeah.
So you notice the first 2 episodes we had a little slip there, but we're back, and this is where it is. So I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. Stay tuned for episode 4, which will be soon, and
like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe, and
share it.
You know, share this video, and we can't wait to show you guys what we have next.